and but that was only one of, I believe, 8 motions that the judge needs to rule on. So this hearing has only just begun. Now you have everybody claiming like it's over, like Patreon laws, that because that's the big thing. That's the big thing is everybody's parroting Mike Cernovich's take, and that was his head. That was his big headline. Like I said, I believe it was this past Monday. I know it was within the last several days that Patreon Cernovich's big headline on Twitter was that Patreon loses or Patreon lost, something to that effect. So then you had everybody retweeting Cernovich. You had Tim Pool. You had oh God, I think the Quartering is getting in on this
Yeah.
action too. But what? Yeah, that's the frustrating part, Sam, is that we've been the Gammas over at the Gamma Secret King subreddit have been following this thing for I think since the beginning. I mean, this has been going on since last November. I think is when Owen got kicked off Patreon.
Yeah, I mean, he's been kicked off Patreon for a while now, since November. And the weird thing too is if they took 5 minutes to actually look at what Owen had said prior to this, Owen actually said at one point that he didn't care about his Patreon, like,
Oh, he said that several times. Yeah.
page at all. And so one of the things that I keep, hearing is, well, A, they've lost, Patreon has, and B, that this could set, precedent for, other, deplatformed users, and potentially for Owen to go after other platforms like, YouTube, which, to that I would say good luck, because YouTube and Google is a completely different animal from Patreon. I think.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, Patreon is considered a pretty small fish.
Yeah. And there's no, I mean, at least as far as I've seen, there's no evidence that Patreon is going to, is necessarily going to be going down the tubes, anytime soon. Just because I've seen that they keep doing like layout changes and improving things on their site, overall. So if they have the money to do, major renovations, then clearly I don't think they're going to be collapsing necessarily.
Well, you're touching on a couple of topics that I want to discuss, Sam, and that's the first one being the what precedent is this going to set? Because the way it was presented to the public from the very beginning was that this was an issue of free speech, an issue of deplatforming conservatives, quote unquote conservatives, because
Right.
it's pretty clear that Owen Benjamin is not a conservative.
No. And he's not even a free speech warrior either. That's what drives me
No,
crazy.
not at all. No, he's one of the worst as far as censorship goes. But yeah, there's not going to be any precedent from this case. And what further than that is that now what you're hearing, all these bears and the Johnny Come Latelys parrot, is that this is, oh, that was never the issue. It was never about getting Patreon to do the right thing or whatnot. It's about bleeding them dry. We're bleeding them dry in court. That's what everybody's saying now. And as we know from Mr. Teddy Spaghetti, that gammas will always move the goalpost. So this is what we're witnessing, is the goalpost moving. It's not about getting Owen back on Patreon anymore. It's not about setting a precedent for free speech. It's about getting revenge on Patreon for perceived slights. Now look, I just want to take the time to clarify here that I am not a necessarily on Patreon's side in this matter. It's more of a case of I'm against the unauthorized crew. I
Right.
see I see Patreon as the lesser of the two evils. But sure, Patreon's done some things that need to be corrected. But I guarantee you, Vox Day and Owen Benjamin are not going to be the gentlemen to do it. Now, what was the other issue you brought up? Oh, the money. Yeah, speaking about the money, that's another important thing to consider. Is that if you look in the on Jams's website, the cost is about $3,000 per case. Okay. Now we have 100 total cases that Owen brought to arbitration, and at $3,000, that's only 300 grand. Now I think there's a bit of other fees. There's other costs included in there, and of course, if it gets dragged out, it's going to cost more. But we're looking at costs at the moment between 300 and 500K, which is a lot more than the millions that they originally told us they were going to bleed out of Patreon. So that's just another thing to consider.
So I have a question, and this is completely, just your opinion, but why pick Owen for this? Because it seems like out of that whole grifter crew, I mean, say what you will about Gavin or Cernovich or even well, I mean, I would kind of put Teddy in firmly with Owen, but it seems like if they real wanted to go after the whole free speech thing, they would pick someone in that crew who at least has some legitimate uh clout to go after Patreon instead of someone who constantly grifts and rants about moons and uh you know energy or something like that. So uh
Well, Owen, yeah, is a bizarre test case for sure. I think it just came down to the fact that he was the first willing guinea pig. He was. I mean, yeah, he was. I think we've talked about this before, but that whole crew is connected to each other. Now, the way I understand it is that this was Mike Cernovich's brainchild. I believe he's
mhm.
the first one that put it out there publicly that this could be done to a company such as Patreon. Now, what probably happened, this is all conjecture, but what probably happened is he went to Teddy Spaghetti with that plan, and they just waited for the first idiot to get kicked off of Patreon that they were connected to, which of course was going to be Owen. But that also raises the question: did Owen act intentionally act in a way that would get him kicked off of Patreon? And my theory with Owen Benjamin is that he is intentionally trying to get kicked off as many platforms as he can.
Oh yeah.
Now,
Oh yeah.
this yes, and this is raising more questions. Like maybe this was the plan all along. Maybe they. I mean, we know the motive was monetary from the court papers that Owen wanted a huge settlement, a settlement that far exceeded what he was entitled to from his 2K a month he was getting from Patreon.
Well, what was interesting to me, it's interesting that you bring up the whole thing of him getting intentionally banned from, Patreon and whatnot because, and maybe I shared this with you off air, but as I've shared, I back when Johnny and I were part of that club for the brief time we were, that was around the time that Owen got banned off, Twitter, and I kind of remember like the one interaction I actually had with Owen, and he was a lot more reasonable then, but I was kind of like, Owen, do you really need to drop the N bomb on, on Twitter all the time? Like, it's not even, it's not even funny at this point. And I mean, his whole thing even then was kind of, well, if I get banned off Twitter, then I'll be like, then then I can maybe get on to like, Ben Shapiro's show, and like it'll actually be good for the for our brand of conservatism. So even then, it kind of seemed like he was thinking that way. Now I don't think he really fully understood how much trouble that would actually get him in, but still, it kind of seemed like even back then he was trying to purposely get deplatformed from things. So
Well, how what the deal is, Sam. I mean, we've been on YouTube for a while. And we're kind of course, in a different time. 2020 has been crazy, but that was the issue du jour back. What the last few years was the deplatformings. Everybody had a megaphone after that. Whenever a conservative was deplatformed, they would make the rounds on all the usual suspects, your Crowders, your Shapiros, and they would be at least momentarily the hero of the day.
right.
So I think Owen saw that and he went with it, which, as I said, was big at the time. And he just kept getting so many accolades that he stuck with it. Owen is like a one-trick pony, so he's going to stick with what he knows. And in this instance, it's the deplatformings. But as I said, if there's also a monetary gain from it, then he for sure is going to jump at that. And I think that's where we're at now.
So then, who are some of the other players? And I've looked into this a little bit on the GSK subreddit because I'm on there a lot too. But who is like Mark Randazza and all of these new players that are entering the fold?
Okay, so Mark Randazza is the creepy porn lawyer. He's he is literally a creepy porn lawyer. He is the man that Owen hired to represent him. To represent him and the Bears. Now keep in mind, Owen is not involved in this lawsuit with Patreon. This current lawsuit. He's involved in the arbitration, but Randazza is not representing him in the arbitration. Now, at some point, he and Teddy Spaghetti realized that the Legal Legion of Evil were not fit for this job, so that's why they had to hire Randazza. Now, that man is a well-known First Amendment attorney. That's how he came to be a creepy porn lawyer. Is he represented a lot of gay porn websites in First Amendment cases.
I I,
And
I
he
was
act
I was just ready to ask that what because I kept getting him confused because I'm like, is this the same creepy porn lawyer Stormy Daniels hired to go after Trump? And I'm like, no, that can't be. That can't be
they're
it.
they're cut of the same cloth, you might say. But that was Avenatti. That was Michael
Oh,
Avenatti.
right,
That was
right,
the other.
yeah.
But yeah, and I don't believe Avenatti did any First Amendment work. But um, now Randazza is very sleazy. He's from the things I've read, was very involved with his clients. Let's say his gay porn clients, to the point that he allowed them to film gay porn scenes in his office, in his legal office. So he was, and he's based out of Las Vegas. I mean, that
Oh
should
yeah,
be all
well,
I need.
oh yeah, well that explains a lot right there too. So,
So
um,
that's who Randazza is. He's not, and that's the funny thing. He's not LLOE, but they had to go and snatch him up. I think because they wanted people to think that this was a First Amendment case. But it's just all kinds of ironic that Oh, and Mr. Against Squirt Boys, Mr. Whatever the hell else, Mr. No porn, no fap in his life, and that's what he wants all his bears to do is not to stop masturbating, but he goes and gets a lawyer who is very comfortable representing the dumpster pumpers, let's say.
But yeah, let's not forget. It's not even about it's about the porn. Think about the porn push that Owen has been the anti-porn. It's not even about masturbation. Porn and masturbation went hand in hand. Good evening, by the way,
Well,
fellas.
and hey, Apex, what's going on, man?
But no,
It's
I just thought that was interesting that porn, it's par for fucking the course for Owen, man. Like he'll turn he's fucking street sweepers his fucking shit talk across the board, anything that comes in his path. And then, but if he can help him down the line, I swear to God, I was talking in somebody's Discord earlier about this whole Patreon thing, and actually, it was your Scorpio. It was your post about the lawsuit on UATV, the parody post. We were just discussing how funny that would be if like the Bears actually turned around and you know Owen destroys Patreon, and then the Bears turn around and destroy Owen, because I mean we all know what unauthorized is and has been, and the promises that were made, both verbal and written, of services that weren't kept, and stuff like that. But
okay, so we might want to be careful though, because Mr. Teddy has already said that when they're done with Patreon, they're going to turn their attention to us defamatory gamma. So might want to bite the tongue there.
oh well, no, I just thought that was funny. I mean, it was a parody post. I mean, Teddy does scare the shit out of me. Let's be real. I mean, that I can hear that chair creaking in my sleep. So
I wonder if he's going to be where is he located? Spain or Italy? So I wonder if
He's in Europe. I'll just put it at that.
so
yeah, so let's not go any further than that.
so I wonder
I don't know.
if he's going to be sending the cost. I'm just wondering which organized crime outfit he's going to send after me here in Florida to drag back to Europe or wherever. So
Oh, well, that's an old one, Sam. Everybody knows it's the Pasta Nostra.
well,
yeah, probably knowing him.
you know,
So you were saying something, Apex?
sorry. Yeah, I just started choking when Scorpio said that. Oh, sorry. I don't even remember what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, you wouldn't be the first wheelchair-bound young man that Teddy has had pulled out of his house for saying mean things. So, right?
Well,
Yeah.
actually,
That's
he would
true.
be the first. He would.
Would he? I thought there was a disabled kid that he called the cops on, got swatted like years ago, that he bragged about.
No, I debunked that. That was in the Box Day documentary. That whole story was made up.
Oh.
Yeah, I got in
Oh, I must
contact
have
with
missed that
I
part.
got in contact with the wheelchair kid.
Oh
I got
shit! No way, dude.
The the wheel
That's even better.
the wheelchair guy isn't even in a wheelchair, right? He's like some zookeeper from Boston, right?
yeah. Yeah, I got the police reports too. There was no arrest or anything.
Yeah.
There was
Wow,
a visit.
that's
There was a
amazing.
visit to have a talk with him, and that was it.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I can't believe I missed that, dude. Because you did good work on those documentaries, dude.
Well,
And
I kind of have to thank you for that though, Scorpio, because prior to that, there were some people who thought that I was the wheelchair bound kid. Understandably so, maybe, but like I hadn't even heard of Teddy's spaghetti when that whole thing had allegedly occurred. So, but yeah.
so I came in just a few minutes ago, and I stayed silent because Scorpio was talking. But what's the well, I don't want you to touch on anything you've already touched on, but is there any updates to like the Patreon and stuff that you haven't touched on yet, or just Owen in general that you haven't touched on yet? Because I'm way behind way behind
Well,
on a lot of that stuff.
yeah, we talked about how the judge denied the preliminary injunction,
Right.
but that was just now that's what we kind of just started talking about it, but that's what's
Yeah.
being overblown in this whole uh, narrative that's going around. Is Patreon did not lose because this was just a routine part of the trial. The Randazza actually asked for, I believe it's a 2-week extension. So the Bears, by way of their creepy porn lawyer, have until September 25th to respond. Now,
Ah,
so that means this thing. Now there's been on the docket a court date of November 4th. So this thing was always going to last for at least months, and
yeah,
it might even go into next year. So
I
that
would
I mean
imagine
that's
it
why
would.
yeah, yeah, it's court. So
Right.
um,
And I mean, Patreon's got deep fucking pockets, man. And I know Owen and Teddy think they've got him bent over here, dude. But I could see this shit going on for fucking years, and it draining every single thing that they have, or it could go both ways. I mean, Patreon's not infallible, but I imagine they're more fallible than fucking Owen and Teddy fucking spaghetti.
and that's the position I'm coming from. Now Owen is presumably already out over 100K just in lawyer's fees for this thing.
Ooh.
So imagine if this goes on for another 6 months, another year. I mean, you're gonna start
Dude,
seeing some more Bertaria fundraiser drives. I'll tell you that
what if
much.
this? I mean, I could see this shit going on for years because this. I mean, like, it's not unusual for court cases, depending on what kind that what the charge and the implications and stuff are, to go on for a great deal of time. And if especially if Patreon ends up bent over, or in a tight spot in any kind of way, again, they have much deeper pockets than Owen and Teddy do, and I could just see them fucking bleeding them dry in just in litigation fees and court fees and lawyer fees and all the other bullshit. Maybe not, but
Well, now, and that would be interesting because Patreon would be in effect using the lawfare tactic that Owen and Ted are using against
right.
them. So
Yeah,
yeah,
lawfare,
it's
right.
just yeah, it's just it's all a big mess. I mean, that's what it comes down to, is that everybody is going to lose in this case.
Part of
That's
me
what I
also
see coming.
part of me also wonders, and I hate to kind of interject, but I think, Scorpio, you touched on this just a second ago, but to me, it seems like this whole Beataria thing is almost kind of like a front for the lawsuit. Like
Well, of course it is.
it's really hard to tell with Owen because he comes up with he'll come up with inane random shit off the top of his head like every day, right? But the
Yeah.
lawsuit happens, and then suddenly he gets the idea that he's going to buy all this land, and all of a sudden he wants to start a campground. I mean, he may be crazy, but he's not that crazy. So
Well, and he may be stupid, but he's not that stupid. I mean, I see Owen. That's the thing, is Owen has been fucking full tilt the Owen we see now for almost 2 years now, which is crazy to think about because it does not seem like that long. Because I found him right before the switch, which most of the audience knows, and of course Sammy. But so I watched that flip in real time from like just a normal dude that tried to do things that he was, good at, like play piano and make shitty jokes and talk to the camera in the morning drinking coffee, to the spiraled out lunatic, flat earth and the moon's a battery and fucking all the other crazy shit. But he's been doing this for long enough now. He's got it figured out, and especially with Teddy. Once Teddy came on board, him and Teddy Spaghetti became, buddy buddy. I could see the shift in Owen towards the grift, even more so towards the grift, more of a focused grift, because then came unauthorized, which I mean, is just the biggest fucking joke I've ever seen, and it remains so. You know, people pay, it was a fucking 360, what, I don't remember what it was, but it was like $1 a fucking day or some shit for their you know, WordPress site. Again, we all know this part, but I don't think he's that stupid, man. I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and well, maybe not exactly, because he's gonna piss the wrong lunatic fucking bear off one of these days, pulling these fucking scams. Because every time he does this, another great bear purge happens. You know what I mean? It happened with Fuentes. Um, I mean, that happened with, there was the one time he called out fucking active military for some, I don't even remember what the fuck it was for. But yeah,
Oh,
you know, calling out an active military, and that was one of the clips on my original channel that I had at least a dozen bear names that were like, "Yep, this was my moment. Fuck this dude. I thought he was just kind of crazy, but you know, well, you know, he's turned people a lot." And then of course the Nathan Slattery thing. I mean, what is it, like every 6 months or so? There's a great bear purge because people are like, "Wait a minute, what the fuck?" And you know, he calls the ones that aren't loyal, and you know, recruits and promotes a whole new inner circle. I mean, that it's fascinating to watch, because he seems to be pretty fucking good at it, exploiting dumb people on the internet. I mean, he's obviously not the only one, but he's doing it different, I think.
And now he's I was I mean I'm pretty sure I've seen you in Milker's comments, E Scorpio, but I assume you're familiar with Milker Nation too, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Who is it?
yeah, he's so Milker's been documenting that Owen has buddied up to this James True guy, I'm not like, the thing of it is with me, I don't even know who half these streamers are in general, but but like now Owen's getting into bed with like these really obscure guys and then pissing them off too.
yeah,
So it's interesting. So
yeah,
Well, bro, I mean, let's go. You could go as far back again, almost 2 fucking years ago at this point, well over a year now. But what's that flat Earth lunatic? Dubay,
oh,
Eric Dubay.
Dubay, yeah,
You know what I
Savanier,
mean? Savanier, right? Exactly. He's a niche. I mean, he had 20, 30,000 subscribers, but dude, Owen had 250,000 subscribers. At that point in time. So he's been
yeah,
punching down forever. He's not afraid. Mersh was always fucking smaller than him. You know,
yeah,
always
yeah,
punches any direction. He don't give a fuck.
yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, Dubay is big as far. I don't. The weird thing with Owen is, I mean, obviously he is on a smaller platform now, so automatically he's going to be a big fish in a small pond. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
Dubay had a pretty big following compared to these guys. I mean, just in the last month or so, he's already had started feuds with, and I believe these guys are exclusive to, for the most part, exclusive to D Live. James True and Lift the Veil. He's already
Oh, lift the
started beefing
veil.
with. Yeah, he started beefing with those two guys. So it's yeah, it's just part and parcel for his lunacy.
Yeah, man. If you have a platform, and especially if any of the bears watch whether we're talking Nathan from Lift the Veil or this James True guy or fucking anybody, if bears are inclined to watch these other people and then come into Owen's chat, and one person, two people, whatever, but if it becomes like a trend of people like, oh, you and James True guy, you guys are talking the same thing, you guys are the same person, like Nick Fuentes' chat did with him, and he's like, I don't know if we're the same person, but sure, I'll talk to him. And Owen fucking lost his goddamn mind.
what
um Go ahead.
what strikes me too is I was watching the James True, and I was watching one of the James True videos that Milker put together, and what's interesting is Owen acts, and I don't mean this to be mean, but this is just kind of how I see it. Owen's mannerism, like he always acts like a 12-year-old boy, like uh like, oh, me and James Chu have been texting back and forth like all day today, and he's so cool. We agree on, on so, much. Like I'm like holy crap, that's how I used to talk when I was like, 12 or 13, and I met like a new friend
Yeah.
or something.
When Owen is genuinely excited about something, especially like connections that he makes, whether we're talking Vox Day or like James True, uh, or man, I don't know if I still have it um, on my phone. I don't think it's on my backup channel, but that fucking clip, I don't know, it was a longer clip from way back in the day. God, it was almost 2 years ago now, 18 months at least. That Owen was reading off text messages that between him and his buddy in California that owns a gym, and they were talking about Columbo, the Columbo thing. Do either of you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
dude. And he's
The
reading off these text messages
the cop show
about this
or
dude. No,
No, no.
no, Columbo. Yeah, yes, Columbo the cop show. But it was a what do you call it? Fucking, I almost called it a Mandalorian effect. A fucking Mandela effect. The
No,
Mandela. It was
it
it was
was
a man it was
it was
when Owen was hard on the Mandela effect. He was saying Columbo doesn't exist. It's always been called Columbu. And he was spiraling out about it. And he was reading text messages to his old friend in California about this Columbo thing. And he was just like, he would read off part of the message and he's like so happy. But, just reading this conversation off with one of his friends. I don't know, just it was really weird to me, which is why part of the reason I clipped it in the first place. But he's also
yeah,
reading off LOLs. He's reading off LOLs from his best friend, who's a legend. But he's like, "Don't fucking say LOL, you stupid gammas," because nobody says LOL. You know, shit like that.
yeah, it was a Mandela effect thing. It was actually a bodybuilder whose name was Marco Columbu. Okay,
Exactly.
that's what
Yeah.
everybody says his name is, Marco Columbu. But Owen got it in his head that it was actually Columbo. So I mean that's where the whole Shapiro thing comes joke, well, quote unquote joke comes from.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
from that episode.
Well, and see, I thought my interpretation of that, because I didn't look that much into it at first, because if I remember correctly, I had recently got my first Nintendo Switch, and I was playing Breath of the Wild for the first time. So I was like playing Breath of the Wild and listening to Owen and trying to record shit. But if I remember correctly, someone had pointed out in the comments of one of those videos that Owen was talking about Columbo, the TV show, and mixing it up with Columbu, the bodybuilder. And he thought he had seen some sort of like magazine, like Men's Magazine or something. And there was like the evidence was pretty clear. I wish I had that clip still. But yeah, it was one of those. He was on and on about the Mandela effect. But no, you're talking about a bodybuilder in a TV show. Columbo's always been called Columbo. Columbo's always been called Columbu. Whatever. And he's again in my clip, he's talking to his friend in California who owns a gym, and he's trying to convince him, like, oh, if you came to work tomorrow and your gym was called, Gold's Jimbo or some shit, he's like, yeah, but that wouldn't happen. Oh, and no one's like so excited reading it out. God, he's very childish, but I mean, you know what? I can't help but laugh at the dude. Not
Yeah.
for the jokes that he tells, but he's so fucking retarded.
Yes, yes. Still Nacho friend says Owen is like a teenage girl with a new boyfriend when he makes a friend. He must be feeling he
Yeah.
must be feeling real alone. Yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. I'm like I was saying. Owen acts like Owen acts like a preteen. Whenever he makes like a new friend. So, um, so it's weird. Um, I mean,
So I have a question for you, Scorpio, because I'm gonna assume, well, this would have to be fact because I have literally not watched any Owen like live since he's been on D Live. I've watched clips and stuff, but this whole turpentine thing, I called it from the get go, or at least I said rather from the get go, that man was never going to drink turpentine on stream, and you were never going to see evidence that he does it. Is that still true? Has he ever actually drank turpentine, or is he just
No,
still talking about it?
yeah, no, he hasn't. No, nobody's ever seen him drink it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and as far as him talking about, I think that I've heard him bring it up recently, but that's one of those things, man. I mean, just like you just mentioned, Mandela effect and all that stuff. It's kind of like a fad for the man. He'll be
Yeah.
hardcore into whatever subject for whatever amount of time, and then he'll drop it for something new again, like a child with a shiny new toy or something. But this all goes. I mean, like I say, once you start looking, like you said, 2 years back, you start noticing these trends, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
this turpentine thing, he kind of picked it up around the same time when he started picking up these men like James True. He started going into holistic medicine. He started going
Mm-hmm.
into New Age philosophy. So now that's what we're seeing is we're getting at the tail end of this. Someone described it as him picking up different grifts. Okay, I mean the
That's
same thing with
exactly.
Dubay and the flat
Yep.
Earth
Yep.
situation.
Yep. Yep.
So he had to shed all that, and then he went into this New Age thing, and now we're getting to where he's shedding that. So that's,
Well,
I mean,
dude,
the turpentine was just a tiny part in all that.
The
bro, he's done it. He's done it literally dozens of times. And I mean
Right.
that like quite literally dozens of times. I mean, the ones that stand out are like the flat earth. And obviously turpentine's recent. But every single internet niche that I've ever heard of, and many that I haven't, but like at one point he shifted from, at least for a few weeks, if not months, he started talking about the earth and moon being like batteries or some crazy bullshit. And it sounded like crazy bullshit because he was misquoting actual
Congratulations on getting
science
700
from
subs. Here, enjoy
what's
the
what's
700
called like the
cents I
electric
gave
universe
you.
theory, the Thunderbolts project and shit like that. It's it's the idea that the universe is based around electricity less so than gravity, and it's pretty solid science. There's a lot of pretty solid science around the fucking batteries at positive and negative anode cathode fucking shit, like the way Owen described it. But
Right.
it made me realize something at that point. Owen, like again, when you go back far enough, he figured out that people fucking throw money at him when they say things that they want to hear. So he quickly realized, with that nigger stole my bike, that he can be a controversial figure and he can do it well, or at least he can play it well enough that people are like, "Yeah, man, you go." So it started with the first heel turn that I saw personally was I watched that man go from um, being like the most anti Jew. Like he would go like he would say things. He would just go on rants about knowing Jewish people. Like, yeah, but just like anybody, there's good black people, there's bad black people. I don't know when it was, but that was it. The heel turn. That was the first time I was like, wait the fuck a second, like, because when he would play his parody songs, just making shit up.
I think.
Song.
Oh, you're good. I thought you were cutting out there for a sec, Apex, but you're good.
There, Apex. I think I
Uh,
think he might
I
I think he might have cut out.
yeah, I think Teddy might have grabbed Apex. I do want to take a moment to say thanks to Fat Cake Boy for the $7 donation. So
Oh, right on.
so yeah, give me money, you pay pigs. I've only gotten $7 so far. Amy and I have Amy and I need more money to feed the alpacas. So
Yeah, you need to get with it, Sam. You need to start talking about the moon landing, something like that.
uh, there are things I could talk. There are things I could talk out to get money, but I'm honestly a sellout. So and yeah, yeah. For those who are new, yeah, there was a whole turpentine drinking saga where Owen thought that that you could drink turpentine because it cured gay intestinal worms or something like that. So
And that's the man that's going to bring Patreon to their knees.
yeah,
Just to make that clear. That's the man that everybody that is the hero nowadays, according to the mainstream YouTube narrative.
and that's my other point too. Is it's like, do you really want? I mean, because let me be clear. I don't think anyone likes the idea of creators being deplatformed from Patreon. But if you're going to get someone who is a free speech warrior, even if they might be controversial, pick someone like Nick Fuentes, who I don't necessarily agree with or I don't necessarily even like, but at least Nick is consistent or something, as opposed to a man like Owen who is pretty much that like the case for why the entire right wing should be banned from the internet. I mean, that dude is like an example for why someone should be 5150'd. So
Yeah, now we're getting into kind of getting into the weeds there because a lot of this can't be substantiated. But now there came, I think James Alsop put an article out a couple of weeks ago about Fuentes. How Fuentes might have some Fed connections vis-a-vis Milo Yiannopoulos. But
yeah,
that there's that school of thought that says that all of these men are controlled to some degree or another. Now, this is kind of conspiratorial, so we're just shooting the shit here, basically. But that it should be considered that there's a possibility that Owen, by way of Teddy, by way of Cernovich, are connected to some shady characters, let's say, spooks, in other words. So, I mean, this whole thing could just be a show for our amusement, at the very least. It could be
You guys
part
hear
of
me?
a bigger, more nefarious plot.
yeah, yeah. I can hear you. So
Thank fuck, man. I don't know what the hell's going on. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, yeah, you're back now. Yeah, we
uh,
were just talking about how this might be a part of a bigger play. This whole because I don't know if you've heard. If you've heard, I mean, like I said, it's just talk for the most part, internet
Speculation.
talk,
Just speculation,
right? But yeah, I mean, these guys. That's like Sam said. They might be just be there to make the right look ridiculous.
Well, that's been a speculation of mine early on from Owen because even I mean even before me, the danger zone as they're known most prominently by Owen, they he attracted he was talking he was an ex Hollywood dude that talked a lot of conservative and right wing ideals and he talked shit on Hollywood and he was relatively funny and he communicated with his audience and I mean he was like the ideal kind of streamer more or less for the I don't want to say for anybody in particular, but he was relatively normal, but he definitely had more conservative leaning views in his by the time he started streaming and certainly by the time I found him. And yeah, that's been a speculation for I mean, I had the thought, but I've seen it in my comments almost fucking every video that I posted for over a year that he's that Owen was compromised or something to that degree, that he was working for somebody else, or maybe just something as simple as taking direction, like, yeah, now go this direction or whatever, which is of course a wild theory, but it's not beyond
Right.
the pale. It
Right.
really isn't in this day
Yeah,
and age.
I agree.
I mean, in regards to what you were saying to the whole thing with Allsup and Fuentes, I mean, look, I actually at one point interviewed Allsup on his show. The thing with the whole kind of like alt right sphere too is, I mean, they're all kind of it's interesting that Fuentes is saying that or that Allsup is saying that that Fuentes is fed because, like you said, I mean, there's a chance that they're all feds, or at least Soros controlled,
Right.
to a certain extent. So that's all very interesting. Um,
I mean, I also think that I do have to say that that's a dangerous line of thought too, because I don't know. I mean, it's easy to think that anybody with prominence is controlled, which fuck, it's kind of hard to argue against, in a lot of ways, because people are allowed their private lives, especially, or at least they're supposed to be in this country and on the greater internet. And when someone gains popularity, inevitably people are have theories that, you put yourself out there for the world, and you quite literally give the entire world the opportunity to speculate about your actions and behaviors, and you know etc. So if you come up with a solid enough theory, or a sound enough, loose enough theory, which is how the flat earth became a thing. I mean, let's be real. you know you present enough arguments presented in the right way about a certain topic, and people that don't have enough information or understanding about the topic at hand, um, or better yet, have bad information about the topic at hand, especially when it comes to things like, I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't think it's a bad idea to assume everybody on the internet's a fucking working for somebody. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to deter people from that thought, because it's definitely a possibility. Who the
well,
fuck knows anymore, man?
I will tell you up front. I'll be honest. When I was younger, like even back in high
You
school,
were approached. Wait, you were approached by a Chinese Communist Party agent, right? Just come clean, dude.
no,
I'm sorry. I'm
not
sorry. Go ahead.
not I wasn't approached by the CCP, but in all seriousness, I was. A couple people did approach me from CPAC at the time, to basically like be a young conservative spokesperson, and they basically they wanted me to kind of be use the fact that I'm in a wheelchair as kind of like my platform, which I wasn't really into that, totally, to
Gee, I
begin
wonder
with.
why. I wonder why, Sam.
But and even so, my mom was also kind of like, no, you've got to finish high school first, and thank God everything kind of panned out the way it did, because a lot of the same people that approached me actually ended up going to the whole never Trump side, and in
Yeah.
2016, and I went pro Trump, so then those people thought I was a Trump shill, which
Well, they always will.
so
You'll never convince them otherwise, man. It's
so
the weirdest. We live in the weirdest fucking time.
oh
I
yeah.
actually posted a tweet. It didn't get much traction, but I don't really care, because my Twitter has just become my personal gamma musings and thoughts and shit posting. But I've had several conversations with veterans, both of World War II and of Vietnam, and just old timers in general, but more specifically, some of the actual veterans that are like having conversations with me, and I can see like genuine fear in their eyes when they're talking about how much like they've never seen anything like what's going on right now. They've never seen anything like it. They've never not been able to talk to people. They've never, you know, like just the wedge as it's been described has never been deeper in this country, and it's freaking them out as the old timers that they are. And of course, that gives me all sorts of comfort as a you know, as a man of age that can do something about it in this, you know, in this country right now. You know, so it's just, you know, it's so weird talking to younger people that have, even the younger people that have like the conservative mindset, or just not the super leftist retard mindset, and they want to show me their TikTok videos,